God's kingdom. We are bold to pray, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Sir Hugh Strachan now presents his reflection on the word.
Sir Edward Grey was Foreign Secretary for 11 years, making him the longest ever serving holder of that office. Today, however, we remember him for a single sentence. One evening, during the last week before the outbreak of Great War, or so the editor of the Westminster Gazette reminded him, he looked out of the Foreign Office window and remarked, "The lamps are going out all over Europe. We shall not see them lit again in our lifetime." The words combined metaphor and prescience, the end of a day to mark the end of an era. Grey was a liberal, but his regret reveals an underlying conservatism. He knew that war could be the midwife of revolution, a point rightly recognised in Russia in 1914 by both reactionaries and radicals. Grey valued order, international as well as domestic, and he believed it rested on a common European civilization. His was an epitaph not for Britain or for the British Empire, but for a continent, and so it embraced Britain's enemies as well as its friends. Many of those living in Britain in 1914 thought their society was on the brink of fundamental change, even without war. Until late July, Irish nationalism, the strength of the three major trade unions, and the demand for votes, not just for women, but also for the many unenfranchised men, were more pressing considerations than the international situation. On the 4th of August, these concerns were trumped. Britons would later recall where they had been on that day and what they were doing. They recognised that it was a day to which the epithet historic, however hyperbolic, would apply. And yet Grey's own memory of the 4th of August was shaky. A decade later, he could not recall using the sentence for which he has become so well known. He concluded that he had said it on the 3rd, the day before Britain sent its ultimatum to Germany, not on the 4th. His confusion captures the wider uncertainty of the country as a whole, no longer fully at peace, and not yet at war. All were apprehensive, but each for his or her own reason. Most were united by Germany's invasion of Belgium. All were united by the realization that their lives were unlikely ever to be the same again. They did not know how long the war would last or how many would die. In this centenary, we must avoid condescension. The condescension that comes from hindsight, and the condescension that says we would have acted differently. Our role is less to judge than to understand. We have over 4 years in which to do that. So evident are the memorials to the war in our communities and on the battlefields that we can forget that they were not there in 1914. In 1914, our predecessors were embarking on a journey in which they would discover things about themselves and about the world which 100 years ago existed, if at all, only in their imaginations. 100 years on, we too are about to embark on a journey, Not so much a journey of remembrance, not least because very few now among us have any memory of this war, but more a journey like theirs, a journey of discovery, a journey which seeks to understand the past certainly, but also a journey which helps us to understand our own world and its continuing engagement with war.
From the great pulpit to poem.